Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today this is WNR434. It's Impact Wrestling Roundup, but I am all alone. But finally, we are going to catch up. It's going to be 6 months of Impact. That's right, back in February, No Surrender, Ultimate One joined me, but we haven't had a chance to sit down, review, or look at anything Impact whatsoever. And of course, with Bound for Glory coming up in October, what better place and time than to do it now? So let's just sit back, because it's just you and I, dear listener, on this journey from Impact Wrestling. So hopefully you got a nice hot cup of tea or cocoa or coffee, as it was, and we can do this together. So let's get started. Sacrifice, March 5th. We're just 2 weeks after No Surrender. Tom Hannafin and Matthew Ray will welcome us to Louisville. Some feedback in the background. I'm sure they'll fix it before the show actually starts. The announcers run through the card. We see a video documenting the Moose Heath issue. You know what? I didn't mind the setting. The crowd sounded good. The countdown sacrifice match was Giselle Shaw versus Lady Frost. Frost brought the heat in this one, but Shaw got control. After a fight on top, Lady Frost hit the moonsault to claim the ring. You know, this was really competitive, but it's strange to see the recently debuted Shaw actually lose 3.5, but an A for effort. We see a video documenting the issues between Mickie James and Tasha Steelz. Mickie James talks to Gia Bill about how Tasha stole a victory from Chelsea Green and stole an opportunity from her. Chelsea's here to watch Mickey's back tonight. Mickie wants to do this on her own. Mickie wants to legitimately move on to defending against Chelsea. Or countdown to sacrifice match. Matt Taven and Mike Bennett with Maria Kanellis versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Maria joins Tom and Matthew at the commentation station. So the Matt more serious after this turned, doing more onerous heels took control. Bennett got decked by Mack and Swan got the hot tag. He got in a Rolling Thunder, but Taven got 2. Modified 3D. Mack gets smacked down. Bennett with DVD on Swan and Taven with just the tip. A spinebuster. Matt blocks the backpack stunner kick combo, and Swan ends up rolling up Bennett for the 3 Impact's first win and the former world champion. But Honor No More does need some momentum, but this was great stuff. 4 out of 5. We get another epic opening video live in Louisville. We start with the X Division title, Jake Something versus Trey Miguel. This was speed versus power. Jake tried to put Trey through the ring without a powerbomb. Trey with a Canadian Destroyer flying from the apron into Jake into the ramp. How did he not kill Something? We need replays though for this one. Trey versus into Meteora for 2. Goes up chop. Jake follows him. Trey slides out suplex, hits a few strikes, put Jake in place for Meteora off the top for 3. I mean, Trey is a very special talent, but Jake is great. And after sacrifice, Jake's something deal is up, so we'll see what Jake wants to do. Out of 5, a 4.25. This was a banger. Tash Steelz tells Mia how she's going to take Mickie James to Pettyville. She's got a good rap. Eddie Edwards with Honor No More versus Rhino. With Chris Abel, Rich Swann and Willie Mack. The fans chance for gore, but referee gets distracted by all the men fighting at ringside. Vincent does a big dive, and Rich Swann runs to the ring, jumps off of the ref and dives onto anybody. Willie's going to dive onto everybody as well. Steve Macklin runs in a DDT. Edwards is going to hit Rhino with a kendo stick. He eggs Rhino on the gore, then canes Rhino in the back. The fans are not happy about Steve Macklin. Eddie hits the Boston Knee Party for 3. The world's widest wrestler did alright, but I think we should just stick to tags. This is a bit of a cluster at times. Macklin should be the mole on Honor No More, unless his character is the Lone Wolf. A 3.25 out of 5. We get the Impact Knockout World's Tag Team Championship at the Inspiration. Jesse McKay and Cassie Lay versus the Influence. Neil Dashford and Madison Rain. The Influence wrestles on the hills. Nice like Jassy. Cass tags in on fire though. She stomps a mud hole into Tenille. Kicks Madison away. Cassie takes Jesse for the double team, but Tenille fights off. Double suplex fails. Cassie hits 2 with a running kick from Tenille. Here comes Caleb with a K. Spin kick from Cassie gets 2. Caleb slides one of the belts in the ring and Dashwood hits Lee with it. And we have got new champions. The old Heyman did Caleb mean it, but Tenille finally wins gold. As for the information, they felt like they're not Impact regulars. These women's can wrestle. They've been waiting months for these teams to clash, and it delivered. A 3.95. Dashwood was a star in expression. We get Heath and Rana talk about Macklin's betrayal, and Heath up in the title shot. Anthony Corelli, of all people, the former Santino Marella, talks about giving him a pep talk. I mean, just give Heath the Cobra. Brian Myers has his Alex table to call the rest of the show, but W. Morrissey comes out to break that out. Security stop a powerbomb happening to Myers by taking a powerbomb through a table. Jonah versus PCO, and PCO's on no more buddies, not ringside because they're not stupid. King Kong versus Godzilla. Both men trade but neither get the advantage. PCO keep getting up the advantage after a Russian leg sweep, but PCO flies with a toe suicider, then a dive onto Jonah and apron. A super duper plex. Camera problems with PCO sitting up after each move by Jonah. The PCO so only gets 2. We get Jonah tombstone in PCO on the steps. Fans ask referee to check PCO's pulse, but Jonah's not done. He powerbombs PCO from the steps on the floor, sends him back, hits his tsunami splash, and that's it. Maybe forever. Check his pulse chance. Wow, what a match from a couple of monsters there, 4.25. PCO doesn't want to help getting on the ring. He doesn't need it. Jimmy Miller talks about how Alex Shelley was one of Jay White's mentors. Jay White talks about how Alex Shelley doesn't know what he's become, leading to Alex Shelley versus Jay White. Alex was Jay's first opponent in New Japan. It was January last year when the Motor City Machine Guns were due to team against Omega. To put it in perspective where Shelley started, Jay White was 9 years old. This was notch match. The closing sequence was great. Jay White is a star. We see White getting a blade runner and a free count, but Shelley doesn't miss a beat. 4.5. We get a standing ovation for Eddie. Shelley offers a handshake, but Jay isn't having it at all. And then the champ challenge, Jenna Perazzo versus Chelsea Green. Chelsea wants a Ring of Honor gold, so that's what's on the line. Again, another fine match. This is what you get when you mess with a danger. Batso, who got the armbar submission win. The risk control by Diona is next level, but Chelsea looking good. And the Impact Knockouts Championship match, Mickie James versus Tasha Steelz. Well, again, another really good match. Looked like Mickie was distracted by Chelsea as she goes over the top, but a cut from Tasha counts the 3 and history made in Louis reveal the first ever Afro-Latino Women's Champion. I told everybody Tasha would be champ by the end of the year. Match is a little bit scruffy in places, but still good. 3 3/4 out of 5. The Impact World Tag Team Championship match, the Good Brothers versus Violent by Design. Again, really good tag match. We see EY with a low blow and a pile driver on the stage. Powerbomb by Doring into a net breaker by Young. Gets the 3. We got new tag team champions. A bit surprised by the outcome, but the Good Brothers contract coming up in June. Doring together make a great team. 3 3/4. The main event, Anthony Credit joins Tom and Matthew on commentary. He's very confident in Heath's chances against Moose. In the Impact World Championship match, Moose versus Heath. The abdominal stretch, of course, made famous by Wilbur Schneider from by Moose onto Heath, but Heath managing to fight up. Moose hits the Uranagi, hits a spear, looks like it will be it, but Josh Alexander, who the last time we checked didn't even work at Impact anymore, came in C4 to Moose. This was unbelievable. Moose retained against Heath, but then Josh Alexander making his impact. As for the show itself, 6 titles on the line, 3 new champions. First half was better than the second half, but lots of newsworthy things. This was a 9 out of 10. Dashwood was my MVP, and the match of the night was Jay versus Shelley. March 10th Impact. Josh Alexander is back and signed a multi-year contract, including a match against Moose, April 23rd at Rebellion. This can only be good for Impact Wrestling to have Josh Alexander there ready to fight the good fight. We see Jay White, the Good Brothers, and Chris Bay hit the ring to address the Impact Zone. Jay White talks about his victory over Alex Shelley. This was just was electric. It looks like he wants to take out the other Motor City Machine Gun. In the main event, Eddie Edwards beat Rich Swann. March 17th, we saw the Motor City Machine Guns winning controversial fashion against Jay White and Chris Bay, which lived up to the expectations of the crowd and everybody. And in the main event, Josh Alexander beat Matt Taven. But afterwards, we saw Moose arrive at Alex home, giving Alex's wife Jade a signed contract that's lived to close by the Anthem Athens. She can drop it by in the morning. Moose said hello to Alexander the Kid and left. Moose was brilliant in this. It really, really was good stuff. The main event of Impact, March 24th, Mickie James versus Tasha Steelz. Pacing was solid, and while it may have appeared it relied too heavily on Savannah Evans' interference, it's all set up a twist ending. I saw Chelsea Green come to the challenger's aid, only to sit in a chair and watch as she was beaten down and defeated by the Barika Badasses. March 31st, main event. The Motor City Machine Guns defeated Jay White and Chris Bay, like we said, in controversial fashion, with the referee botching the 2 count. These first 2 matches on that Impact, you almost have to book a third now after both controversial finishes. The audience wants to see more of this superb showdown. And we're in April now. See how quickly we are going. April 1st, the multiverse of matches, of course, part of WrestleMania weekend. We had the Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship. It's Trey Miguel defeating Jordan Grace, Chris Bay, Blake Christian Vincent, and Rich Swann. This set wasn't bad, but the sound was dog shit. Blake has won in WWE, AEW, New Japan, and Impact. All 6 gave everything, but it fell a bit short. It's good stuff. 4 out of 5. Match 2, Nick Aldis and Mickie James defeated Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. We see Aldis and James lock in double Cloverleaf submissions, forcing both their opponents to tap. The former Magnus has built a reputation for himself, and of course he knows Impact, being the former champion. He and Cardona feuding over the NWO World title. I mean, this was fine. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Match 3, Mike Bailey defeated Alex Shelley. We see Shelley hitting the sliced bread in the middle of the ring, but it's not enough. Bailey rolling Shelley up for the pinfall. I mean, they are really pushing Speedball. It's not bad, but lacking just a bit of personality. As for Shelley, hands down, an absolute legend. Really smooth match, 4.25 out of 5. The Knockouts Tag Team Championship, The Influence, defeating Tash Steelz and Savannah Evans, and Decay, Rosemary and Havoc, Angela Saw, and Lady Frost. Everything was going on the outside. Decay, Rosemary and Savannah Evans brawled to the back. In the ring, New Influence plant Shaw into the match to retain the Knockouts World Tag Team titles. No one really thought the Influence would lose. Tasha is facing Rosemary, and it should be Influence versus the Inspiration, a 3.25 out of 5. Match 5, we saw Eddie Edwards collide with Tomohiro Ishii in the Battle of Pro Wrestling versus New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ishii blocks the Boston Knee Party and hits a running knee of his own and connects with a vicious brainbuster to score the victory. For me, the pace was a little bit slow. Ishii's beaten Eddie and Jay and won US Gold this year, 3.25 out of 5, but I just don't really get it. Josh Alexander and Jonah defeated Moose and PCO. Again, this was fantastic. You know, different partners, not used to each other. But we see Moose and Alexander square off as they exchange strikes in the middle of the ring. Alexander locks in the ankle lock, but Moose breaks free and retreats. Jonah spears PCO, followed by the C4 spike for Alexander to win. I mean, this partnership of Josh and Jonah really worked. And Moose's entrance looked great. This was a really fun match. 3.75 out of 5. Gianni Perazzi's Champ Challenge. Well, it was AAA legend Fabi Apache answering the challenge. And again, this is Perazzo just being a class above here. We see Perazzo looking at Fujiwara armbar, forcing Apache to tap out. But Taya Valkyrie confronted Gianni Perazzo post-match and challenged her for the AAA Reina de Reinas title at Rebellion. Of course, the last time we saw Taya Valkyrie was in NXT. A 3.5 for me there. Match 8, a rivalry between the Bullet Club and the Motor City Machine Guns, and more shitty machine guns, continued, where we saw another fantastic match. White hits a twisting vertical suplex, connects with Uganagi. Saban counts a blade runner to the roll-up to score the pinfall, marking White's first pinfall lost in Impact. Honestly, Jay White versus Chris Sabin was fantastic. The chest of Sabin was brilliant. Macklin attacked after, but Jay had the last laugh with a low blow. A fantastic match with a great 4 3/4 out of 5. And then the main event, the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson defeated the Briscoes, Jay and Mark. Again, Briscoes cannot have a bad match. It seems Anderson comes back with a thunderous buster to Jay. Edwin is down following a wide flurry of offense. Jay White pushes Mark off the top rope. The referee is distracted by Chris Bay. The Good Brothers capitalise with a magic killer to win. This was a war, 4.5. Overall thoughts, it's weird Briscoes made this and the Ring of Honor show, but the owner couldn't. But then again, who knows? And after the war with FTR to show up against Good Brothers, they deserve recognition. Again, a good show, 8.5 overall. Sabin versus White was the match of the night. MVP, well, Matthew Reinwald for commentating on 4 events across the day. Impact April 17th on BTI. It's annoying because I paid for this on Fight TV, and then BTI and Impact the next week had the full basically replay. April 14th, digital exclusive Carew versus Joe Doring in Destiny Wrestling. Okay stuff. BTI Madison Rain defeated Jesse McKay. After the match, both the Influence and the Inspiration rejected Caleb, who cut a promo and got destroyed by W. Morrissey, powerbomb through a table. W. Morrissey was still not happy as the show starts, which brought out Brian Martin. Him and threatened to leave him half dead in the back of the arena. He attacked him, tried to put him through a table, but Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona attacked. They teamed up and put him through a table instead. Morrissey was busy with his tables open in 20 minutes. The heel team does make sense, all in well, and I don't mind tag goals and these instead of the Good Brothers, maybe. Ring of Honor Women's Champion Dana Pratso defeated Willow Nightingale to retain the title. Alex Shelley defeated Steve Macklin. Honor No More and Bullet Club promo, with Bullet Club interrupted on My More, and they wanted some more of them. And then we had Jonah defeating PCO. Again, a fantastic match. PCO went for the 8th and Deaminator, but Jonah moved. This followed by dropping PCO back in the rail against the ring post and finally finishing him with a tsunami for the pin. Afterwards, PCO set up, so Jonah took him down with the strikes. PCO set up again, but this time Jonah attacked him with a chair repeatedly. PCO kept moving, so Jonah finished him the job with tsunami with a chair, and PCO finally stopped moving. Caleb announced he was no longer part of Impact Wrestling, and the Go Home Impact Rebellion, April 21st. Digital exclusive match, Greektown Wrestling, Trey Miguel beating Aiden Prince. On the BTR, Heath and Rhino defeated Rich Swann and Willie Mack. And we had the Impact Tag Team Champions on the line, followed by defeating Decay. So Decay aren't winning at the pay-per-view. Lots of video packages of Josh Alexander versus Moose. We see Tash Steele as Valor Evans taking out Rosemary and Havoc backstage. Cardona and Myers finally reunited last week, as we know, and they're looking to take out WC Morris. They're now known as the major players. Matt Cardona actually beat Little Greedo, if you remember him, with Tony Marmaluke to the title. Moose confronted Scott D'Amore about being forced to go to the ring and make an apology. Bullet Club, Jay White, Chris Bay, Carl Anderson, Doc Gallows defeated On No More, Vincent, Kenny King, Mike Bennett, and Matt Tevin. We've got the X-Division champion Trey Miguel on the Raider Kid defeating Ace Austin and Speedball Mike Bailey. And then Moose, accompanied by Barrister R.D. Evans, came to the ring to make a public apology to Josh Alexander. After some trash talking, Alexander had enough and walked to the ring. Alexander took out whoever tried to stop him, even D'Amore was smart enough to move out of the way. Alexander and Moose finally got in each other's face and brawled until Moose landed a pair of bigger Ganagis. But when Moose tried to through a table, Alexander fought back and hit the C4 spike through the table instead. Alexander stood tall over Moose as the show went off the air. Of course, Moose had attacked Josh Alexander's wife in a great angle as well. We're on to April 23rd, Rebellion pre-show defeated Chris Bay. It's a fun way to start the show. Honor No More wins, and Bay shined in defeat, 3.95. Knockouts, World Tag Team Champions, The Influence versus The Inspiration. And this was a little bit of a surprise. Lee hits Dashwood with a signature spin kick, but it's not enough. The Influence countered the Idolize into the collab to retain the Knockouts World Tag Team Champions. The Inspiration have been sporadic, mainly on the pre-shows. It's a strange way to use them. Hot tag from Jesse. Influence worked hard here. Really fun match. 4 out of 5. Great promo video to start. Alexander Moose. Been 6 months of a tense build. Great story. A bit like this podcast here. 6 months of a tense build. But we start with Jay White versus Steve Maclin versus Chris Sabin. When the crosshairs, but in attempts to do the same to Sabin, the Motor City Machine Gun avoids the incoming assault, sending Maclin flying to the floor. Sabin counter runner from White into a roll up for 2. Sabin hits a cradle shock on White, but Maclin sneaks in with a pin on Sabin to score the victory. I mean, wow. Steve looked great from entrance to finish. Jay White, curtain jerking, but of course he's a star. And Tom with a great stat. White been in 3 triple threats, Maclin 5, Sabin 68. And speaking of Sabin, the chest of Sabin, Maclin went flying to the outside but picked up the biggest win of his career for Josh Alexander's wife Jennifer tells him not to worry about her or her son here tonight. The AAA Reina de Reinas champion and Ring of Honor Women's champion Deanna Pratt faced Taylor Valkyrie for the Reina de Reinas championship. Again, really, really good match. Perhaps launched herself off the top, but Valkyrie counters into a mid-air powerbomb. She hits the road to Valhalla to dethrone the champ and becoming a new AAA Renes de Rail champion. Banging out the big matches early on Impact. One of Tyre's last matches a year ago was losing to Diona, both on the floor screaming at each other. Was brilliant. Tara went over clean in a great match, 4 1/4. X-Division champion Trey Miguel versus Mike Bailey versus Austin for the X-Division championship. This again was incredible. Miguel flies as he hits a running Hurricane Runner, taking Bailey all the way apron to the floor. Holy shit. Bailey connects with Ultimate Weapon on Austin, but Miguel breaks the pin attempt. He hits Bailey with the Meteora, but Austin pulls the referee out of the ring. He spikes Miguel with a fold to win the match and become the new X-Division champion. Trey won at Bound for Glory. He's the 5th longest X-Division champion. But what's next? There was some dodgy camera work, but Mr. Freetown, the crowd loved Ace winning. 4.5 for me. Coming soon, EGV. Not sure what that is. We do know what's next. It's Jonah versus Tomoe Ishii, the top dog versus the Stone Pitbull. Jonah connects with a thunderous Jonah bomb, but it's not enough to keep Ishii down. Jonah spears Ishii, but crashes and burns on a follow-up Tsunami Splash. In an incredible display of strength, Ishii gets Jonah up for the Brainbuster to win. I mean, Jonah was really respectful with the strikes and took care of him. I am surprised he lost. The match was a bit too slow and ponderous, but 3 3/4 out of 5. A nice finish. And then we have Violet by Design defending the Impact World Tag Team titles in an 8-team eliminator challenge. See who they can take on. We get the major players versus Jordan Grace and W. Morrissey to start. Morrissey powerbombs Green through a table to deliver the low blow to Morrissey, but he was wearing a cup. We then see Grace follow up with a dive to the outside, but they allowed Cardona to roll up Grace for a 3 count. This was a fun and lots of story, but the Digital Media title didn't get defended. The Good Brothers make their entrance as the second team. Hit the Magic Killer for 3 on the Major Brothers. And then we get Johnny Swinger and his student Zicky Dice as they get taken out pretty easily. I mean, why are you leaving here? Rich Ron and Willie Mack are your next team. Anderson distracts the referee, allowing Gallows to trip Mack up on the top rope, hit the Magic Killer and advance. And then Swan looked good, but he was main eventing Rebellion last year. Honor No More come out to face their rivals, Matt Tevin and Mike Bennett. Tevin traps Anderson in a pinning predicament as Kanellis holds Anderson's foot for the 3. And then Heath and Rhino coming up and getting the victory. Rhino Gauze Tavern to score the victory, but the final team is Violent by Design. Of course, the reigning Impact World Tag Team Champions. Dominic says Rhino into the steel ring post. Young Spike C for the pile driver to win the match and retain. Why have Heath and Rhino there as a final team? It should have been all no more. Violent by Design or Good Brothers. It's okay, but they built it up as more. It was just a continuation of the feud these teams had. It was fine. 3 3/4 out of 5. Knockouts World Champion Tasha Steelz versus Rosemary. We see this match. This was fantastic. Tasha dressed like Scar and said she must have heard Mickie James. I love that line. Blackout wasn't enough. Rosemary sprays Evans with a green mist. Then spears Steelz in the middle of the ring. But this time it's Steelz who kicks out just in time. Hits a midair cutter. Rosemary on her head to retain the Knockouts title. Havoc did not help this situation. The crowd was quiet and this was a little bit messy. And then the main event, Impact World Champion Moose versus Josh Alexander. We saw a great near fall with C4 Spike as Moose gets his foot on the bottom rope. We saw the ankle lock and a lot of other things happening as well. This is really, really good stuff. Moose came back, hit Plex. Alexander got a Styles Clash, locking the ankle lock. Alexander lost his mouthpiece and sold it. Moose hits a buckle bomb to expose turnbuckle. Alexander counters another spear, hits a C4 Spike, and your new Impact World Champion, Josh Alexander, after 6 months, bound for glory, having his moment, and it was taken away. This was fantastic. Built and built and built. Josh throwing his headgear, the Styles. It was a match of the year candidate. You can't top a 6-month build more than that. It was exceptional. 5+ for me in this one. As for the show overall, the main event match was fantastic. Macklin was the MVP. 9.25 out of 10. The only thing that really let it down was tag team turmoil. And then big news as well. As we know, the Impact Wrestling Knockouts World Tag Team Champions, the Inspiration, or former, said, confirmed that they're definitely stepping away from in-ring action. So whatever experiment that was there has now come to an end for the Inspiration. But then again, the amount of money they can make on the OnlyFans and places like that makes all the sense in the world. And then we move on to Fallout Digital Media match. Crazy Steve lost to Kenny King. Vincent beats Crazy Steve. So it wasn't a great week for Crazy Steve. The Impact Tag Team titles took centre stage. At the top of the show was Violent by Design. Eric Young, Joe Dorian, Dina hit the ring, only for the Briscoe brothers to arrive and still the show. Briscoes beat Heath and Rhino. The Briscoes are on fire. And for the second time less than a week, Josh Alexander and Moose squared off with the Impact Wrestling Championship on the line. For the second time less than a week, the Walking Weapon bested Wrestling God. For those two to go to for a day later is incredible. The top two in Impact. What's next for Moose? Brilliant match and different to Rebellion. This was a great episode of Impact. May 5th, digital exclusive. Lady Frost beat Jodie Fret in Greektown Wrestling. Giselle Shaw lost to Tennille Dashwood on BTI. We have Brian Myers losing to W. Morrissey in a table match. Really fun match. I liked all that were involved. It's crazy how good Impact is right now. A great looking table bump. Ace Austin beat Rocky Romero for the X Division Championship. Masha Slamovich continued her undefeated streak but needs proper competition. A champion challenge for the Impact World Tag Team titles are under siege. Violent by Design, the Briscoes claim victory by any means necessary when it comes up this weekend, as it was. Bullet Club J1 Bay beat Rich Swann and Willie Mack with the Art of Finesse to win. On and No More hit the ring, and we're going to get 5-on-5 at Under Siege as well. Steve Macklin lost to Tomohiro Ishii. Did Macklin deserve to be sacrificed? I'm not sure. And the main event, Jonah versus PCO, Monsters Ball. Both men trapped in isolation for 24 hours. This was mental. We think in this match that you need PCO continued assault with the animator. Jonah emptied a bag of thumbtacks on the match and then hits a power bomb for 2. PCO knocks him off the apron through a table with a sledgehammer shot and successfully hits the PCO saw to win Monsters Ball. PCO went through chairs twice. The second one looked vicious. This was a great match. May 7th, Under Siege. The action begins on Countdown to Under Siege with Raj Singh and Shira versus Heath and Rhino. Rhino scores, Gore Singh to score the win. Are Heath and Rhino worth the wage? I don't know. I mean, you could argue Rhino is an Impact original, but not a bad way to start. Shira predicted. And then the main show, Laredo Kid versus Mike Bailey versus Rich Swann. Symbol splash to Bailey, but Swann breaks the count with a splash of his own. Swann hits a Phoenix splash on Kid to win. Maybe a new push for Swann. Will Bailey continue to feud race? Some great spots here. 4 out of 5. And then Under Siege, the main show starts. The Knockouts World Tag Team Champions Madison Rayne with Tenille Dash versus Giselle Shaw. I mean, why was this on the main show? I mean, it's a good effort. Rain is, of course, underrated in my books, and Tony Khan probably heard this. Shaw hit a running knee to pin one half of the Knockouts champion, a 3.5 out of 5. Steve Macklin versus Chris Sabin. Macklin loses again, but this was good, though. A cradle shot for Sabin. Interesting to see what's next for the two men as well. 4 out of 5. We get a rematch for the Raider Doranis Championship. Taya Valkyrie versus Gianna Perazzo. Again, a fantastic match. Queen's Gambit into a double foot stomp. Valkyrie plants her face first in the canvas, but Perazzo kicks out. She then returns the favour. She drives Valkyrie into the mat, hits the Queen's Gambit. It's not enough to keep her down. The referee stops Perazzo from using the title as a weapon as Valkyrie rolls her up for 3. Both women brought it. Gianna looked vicious. It's the first time someone has kicked out of the Queen's Gambit. Gianna needs gold, so I wonder what's next. Only Impact Wrestler to main event Dynamite, of course, losing to Mercedes Martinez. It wasn't a definitive finish, though. Gianna got a heat back, attacking Valkyrie before Mia Yim made her shocking Impact Wrestling debut return. Mia Yim looked like a star. This was 4 out of 5. Ace Austin versus Trey Miguel for the X Division Championship. No surprise, it was a hell of a fucking match. A moonsault is not enough. Miguel kicks for a net breaker on the hardest part of the ring. Austin avoids Meteor and then hits the fold to retain the X Division Championship. So many good spots. Net break on the apron was great. Just watch it. 4.5 out of 5. I want to know more. Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Kenny King and Vincent versus Bullet Club, Jay White, Chris Bayel, Phantasmo and the Good Brothers. This was a war with Bennett and Taven hitting the Proton Pack on Anderson score the victory. All I know more finally win. And with the Good Brothers contract, let's make the most of Bullet Club on Impact. Taven White, good. I mean, they sold out Madison Square Garden. Nice to see ELP 3.95. Good stuff. Knockouts World Champion Tasha Steelz beat Havoc. Connected with a Blackout to retain the title. Both women came out alone, only for Havoc by choice. Steelz is a great captain. Great to see her blossom this past year. 3.5 out of 5. Impact World Tag Team Championship. Violent by Design versus the Briscoes. This was another great match. Proper tag wrestling. Talk about the Briscoes being on a roll as well. Young bites. Jay connects with signature elbow drop, but the Briscoes hit a Doomsday device on Dina to win the match and become the new Impact Tag Team Champions. Great reaction from the crowd. 4.25 out of 5. Moose addressed the crowd in the middle of the ring and said that after Josh Alexander, he didn't know what was next. But Sami Callihan made his return and attacked him, laying him out with a Cactus Driver 97. The main event was Josh Alexander beating the Ishii for the Impact World Championship. So Ishii getting his victories past couple of months makes sense. Ishii's 1-0, an aggressive style, great, but a no nonetheless. Josh had his work and boots on. 4.5 out of 5. event. MVP, Honor No More. The match for the X Division match, 8.5 out of 5. Fun show, but could have cut a couple of matches off the main show. But new tag team champions. Digital exclusive, Shogun, Ziggy Dice, Johnny Swinger, Johnny WrestleMania 3 to the ring. Sharp Boy returns to him with Morrissey and Grace to win a 6-person match easily. So Shogun, Ziggy Dice and Johnny Swinger went down. And like the Win and Grace tag team match, that's fun. BTI Ace Austin beat Aiden Prince. Kenny King beat Chris Bay to qualify for the Ultimate X qualifying match that was coming up. Knockouts World Tag Team Champions of Influence beat Giselle Shaw and Alicia to retain their titles, but again, they need serious challengers. Violent by Design vow to regain their belts in a rematch next week. This, just like the whole episode itself, was really, really fun stuff. And we find out Gail Kim announces the Queen of the Mountain match for the Knockouts World Tag Title at Slammiversary. Before she can announce the final competitor, Knockouts World Champion Tasha Steelz interrupts. She announced that Savannah Evans will be in the match, but Kim turns her down. She says the final competitor is Mia Yim. Steelz and Evans start to approach Kim when Mia made a save. Moments later, Yim is blindsided by Donna Pratt, but AAA rounded Rails champ Taya Valkyrie, Tasha Steelz, and Jordan Grace even the odds. World champion Josh Alexander and Tomohiro Ishii faced the Bullet Club, Jay White and Elf, with ELP eating the brainbuster from Ishii. A gauntlet for the gold. Who will face Josh Alexander for the Impact World title at Slammiversary? Well, it was like a Raw Rumble, and we saw lots and lots of talent. We saw fellow Motor City Machine Guns. We saw Honor No More getting involved. Sharp Boy, Steve Macklin. Lots and lots of surprises in this matchup. We see PCO's the 20th and final entrance. Bad news for those in the ring. Eliminate Ray Walt, then face off with Morrissey. Macklin sneaks up behind and eliminates both of them. That's a good elimination. Lights go out and Sammy Callahan confronts Moose in the middle of the ring. And we are down to the final two competitors after Sabin eliminates Macklin. Eric Young and Chris Sabin, in a pile driver by Eric Young, wins the gauntlet for the gold and will face Josh Alexander at Slammiversary. Really fun stuff, actually. And move on, digital exclusive. Feel like a throwback to a family holiday park wrestling as Good Brothers beat Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger. More Zicky on BTI with Swinger versus Crazy Steve with Decay. Laredo Kid versus Mike Bailey. Ultimate X qualifying. Bailey getting a win there to score the victory. Knockouts World Tag Team Champion Tasha Steelz, Savannah Evans, Jenna Pratso versus Taya Valkyrie, Yim and Jordan Grace. Impact sure now how to do multi-woman matches. Yim really feels like a big deal and got the victory here as well. The Good Brothers managing to beat Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Masa Slamovich again continuing her reign of destruction. In the main event, Briscoes versus Violent by Design. The Briscoes managed to retain after a hell of a match with Dorian tussle with Mark on the top. Jay rolls up Dina to score the 3 count. Really good stuff. May 26th, Impact is exclusive. Bullet Club versus Honor No More. Vincent versus Kaleu. Big man win with a choke slam. Laredo Kid versus Black Taurus on BTI. Kid almost scores a victory with a 450. Kid connects with a Spanish Fly to win. He hit a beautiful corkscrew to the outside as well. Alex Shelley versus Trey Miguel. Miguel traps Shelley in a pinning predicament even to score a 3 count. Really, really good stuff. Slamovich moves to 10 and 0. Let's go all the way with Masha. We get Chris Sabin versus Frankie Kazarian with Kaz return to Impact Wrestling to celebrate 20 years. Sabin sends Kazarian soaring across the ring as he hits a German suplex. Out of nowhere, Honor No More hits the ring and attacks both competitors, bringing an end to the match. Raj Singh and Shira lost to Bapita Skura and W. Morrissey. This had 4.4 million views on YouTube segment. This is untapped Indian market. The main event, Impact World Champion Josh Alexander and the Briscoes battle Violent by Design. This was a great main event. Adina hits Mark with a hockey mask jump, spikes with a pile driver to win. This is the way it had to be. Eric Young building momentum. On to the next Impact, digital exclusive, Wrestling Revolver in Las Vegas, the digital media title, Rich Swann versus Matt Cardona. Rich got the win, but of course Cardona is injured now. BTI, Alicia versus Renee Michelle. This wasn't pretty. This felt like 2.0. But after the match, Masha confronts Alicia. Impact June 2nd. Savannah Evans lost to Mia Yim in a very competitive match. Evans looked like is equal. Kenny King's Ultimate X spot on the line versus Bray Christian. But King gets the Royal Flush to win. Again, really, really entertaining. And just kind of good stuff overall. We get Moose and Steve Macklin versus W. Morrissey and PCO. Again, the lights go out. Callahan attacks Moose. Signature bat. Macklin finishes us Morrissey with vicious DDT. This was Morrissey's last match at Impact. By God, what a run he's had. Wherever next, he's all right in my books now. Great main event. Let's build. Macklin, digital exclusive, Gianna Pratsu versus Tootie Lynn. Nice match with Gianna sneaking a win. BTI Decay defeated Johnny Swinger and Ziggy Dice. We had Knockouts World Tag Team Champion Tenille Dashwood versus Rosemary, with Rosemary sending a crash into Ray in the apron, rolling up Dash for free. The Influence attacked Rosemary after the match until Taya Valkyrie makes a save and stare each other down in the middle of the ring. Steve Macklin versus PCO. Macklin got the win. DDT PCO to the steel chair to score the victory. PCO proves he's not human as he gets to his feet once again and stares Macklin down. PCO said, and that injury, the Macklin kicked his arm into the stairs and looked like he'd twisted his arm, was really, really scary. And in the main event, Josh Alexander defeating Joe Doring by disqualification. Really, really good stuff. I'm lying to you, that wasn't even the main event. The main event was On No More, Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus Frankie Kazarian and Motor City Machine Guns, with Eddie Slides with a die-hard driver to win. Now it's On No More give Heath the same treatment as Rhino as they assault his leg with a steel chair, and On No More stands towards Impact off the air. Fantastic main event. Motor City hasn't missed a beat. June 16th, digital exclusive, Chris Bay beat Raj Singh. BTI Lorado Kid beat Blake Christian. Touch Stills, Savannah Evans defeated Jordan Grace and Mia Yim. Really, really good stuff. Garrett Bischoff and the ace of the Racemaker Spies return, interrupted by Honor No More. Trey Miguel defeated Mike Bain in a great match. Masha Slamovich defeated Alicia. Last match, Shaw came to the aid. Alicia Slamovich stared her down. Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Briscoes defeated the Bullet Club. IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, that's right, Jay White and Chris Bay. The IWGP Champion, ladies and gentlemen. But D'Lo Brown dons the Ace and Ace Fest once again. He joins Gap, Bischoff and Wes for the match against Honor No More tonight. Vincent pins Briscoe to score the victory, and they surround D'Lo, but he doesn't look like back down as he hit a thunderous sky high on King, and then went up top and hit the Fog Splash as well shortly hereafter. D'Lo, man, come on, you the man. And then the contract signed by Josh Alexander and Eric Young set the stage perfectly, as we know. Well, we had Rocky Mountain Pro Wrestling where Madison Rain beat Reagan Grimes. BTI Black Taurus defeated Andrew Everett. A lot going on with On No More not trusting PCO. But James Storm coming back, and Chris Harris as well, talking about respect and teaming up with the Good Brothers and the Briscoes, and a huge rule breaks out of On No More is sent scurrying. So the Good Brothers, I guess, are baby faces as well. Chelsea Green versus Mia Yim, and Yim get the win with the Eat Defeat for the victory as well. We have Josh Alexander beating Dina, getting him done and finish him off with the ankle lock. And of course, Frankie Kazarian wants to reignite his rivalry with Chris Sabin. We'll get that just before Against All Odds. Sammy Callahan defeated Jack Price. The Good Brothers told the Briscoes that despite their history, they have their backs in the six-man tag team main event with James Storm and the Briscoes versus Honor No More. Edwards off the apron. The Briscoes have Bennett back with a double team net breaker, but Tavern breaks a pin and hit the Broton Pack on Mark to score the victory. Honor No More beat down the Good Brothers and brutally attacked Mark Briscoe's leg with a steel chair, just as they did to Rhino and Heath. Main event there. Savannah Evans beat Alicia Edwards. Rich Swann defeated Raj Singh. It's fun stuff. Trey Miguel defeated Chris Bay. Steve Laredo Kid win the Challenge X Division champ at Against All Odds. Great stuff. One of the strongest we've got from Death. Raven says he's signed a club with Orange House of Fun to be barbaric and cruel at Against All Odds. Chelsea Green confronts Mickey James. Deanna Perazzo did an interview with Gia Miller. Suggests that James lacks chemistry with a partner Against All Odds, Mickey Yim. Rosemary summons Father James Mitchell. Demands he tell Havoc to return for the Undead Realm. Jordan Grace, Savannah Evans. Grace comes through with a muscle buster to score that. And of course, let's not forget the main event, the Good Brothers. Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, who just beat the Briscoes, let's not forget, with James Storm, Eddie Edwards, Matt Tavern, Mike Bennett, Murray Kevison, Kenny King. Of course, it all goes to hell as PSO stops the Magic Killer attempt to Anderson, who avoids Red Rum, then rolls up Vincent to retain the titles. Backstage, Chris Harris and Heath will join James Storm and the Good Brothers in a 5-on-5 match Against All Odds. And let's not get confused, if we talk about new tag team champions, we did have a look at Slammiversary. We talked about that on the live show, which again, if people want to catch, you can listen to that as well. In the main event, Frank Kazarian versus Chris Sabin. This was unbelievable stuff. This is also Brian Hebner's last match. Sabin hits the close off from Hell, Michigan, followed by the Cradle Shock to win. But we set to Brian Hebner, his last match as well. And of course, the action begins on a countdown to Against All Odds with Black Taurus with Crazy Steve versus the Laredo Kid. Taurus connects with a powerball to score the victory in a great match. Nothing to wrestle for, but like Liz Roster, they gave everything in this one, a 3.95. Digital Media Champion Rich Swann versus Brian Myers in a dot combat match for the Digital Media Championship. No DQs, no countouts, and a plethora of tech-related weaponry came into play here. Myers caught Swan with a mid-air keyboard shot, hit the roster cut clothesline to win the match, and become the new Digital Media Champion. A fun match, but even in Impact, this might be Myers' level. Swan having a good time. Myers beat a former world champion of 3 3/4 out of 5. The main show, we start off hot with the Bullet Club, Ace Austin and Chris Bay versus the Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Flatliner for 2. Sabin always puts Bay away with a cradle shock, but Austin pushes Shelley into the pile towards break the count. The Guns turn Bay inside out team offense to score the victory. The past versus the future. Great stuff from all involved. What a match. Not many better junior heavy tag matches. What a way to start a 4 1/4 out of 5. We get Deanna Perazzo and Chelsea Green versus Mia Yim and Mickey James, with James getting worn down by Perazzo and Green. James sidesteps with Charles and Perazzo, sending to the steel ring post, makes a tag to Yim, who hits Green with a bridge flex. Perazzo shoves Yim off the top rope. Perazzo and Green hit James with a double backstabber to score the victory. This had its moments. I've never seen that double team finisher before, and all 4 women are extremely talented, at 3 3/4 out of 5. Vincent is replaced by PCO in tonight's 5-on-5 showdown between Honor No More and the Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, America's Most Wanted, and Heath. X-Division Champion Mike Bailey versus Trey Miguel. First title defense since winning it in the Ultimate X match at Slammiversary. Meteora with Miguel fights through the pain and sends Bailey soaring off the apron with Hurricane Runner. Bailey hits Ultimate Weapon on the hardest part of the ring. Bailey trips him up on the top, hits the Flamingo Driver to win the match and retain the X Division Championship. I mean, Speedball was good, but not maybe as good as Scott D'Amore thinks he is. But what's next for Trey? Both worked and sold the knees. What a match. What a finish. The shots on the knees was hilarious. Knockouts World Tag Team Champions Rosemary and Tara Valkyrie versus Tennille Dashwood and Jesus Shaw. Of course, Jesus Shaw stepping up for Madison Rain. Unfortunately, maybe not, as Rain trips up Valkyrie from the outside, but it's not enough. Valkyrie rolls up Dashwood to score the victory and attain the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. This was fine, with both teams not having the best chemistry. Odd couple team won't last for 3.5. After the match, Dashwood, Rain and Shaw deliver 3-on-2. And on the way back, Masha Slamovich hands to Tennille Dashwood an envelope signifying that she is her next target. Oh, shit. Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers. America's Most Wanted, James Storm, Chris Harris and Heath versus Ono Moore. Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Kenny King and Mike Kanellis. Both see exchange spinebuster after spinebuster in the middle of the ring. Taven connects with a springboard kick on Storm to break. Anderson hits Gunston and Edwards. Taven calls for the PCO assault, but instead he dives off the top rope to the floor. America's Most Wanted hit the death sentence on King to win. Seeing America's Most Wanted was special. Chris Harris deserves this at least. Ono Moore going to help PCO become face. He tried to kill himself by diving to the outside, but 4 out of 5. Sorry about your damn luck. We saw Raj Singh confronting former digital media champion Rich Swann. Says his loss early tonight was embarrassing. Moose versus Sami Callihan and the Ravens. Clockwork Orange House of Fun. Raven, the inventor of this match, joined the commentary. And I think he did alright once he settled down. This was mental. Callahan goes low with a staple gun, hits the Cactus Driver 97 in a pile of building blocks, but Moose kicks out. Steve Matlin disguised as the cameraman, hits a low blow on Callahan from behind, tacks him with a barbed wire. Both will Moose capitalise with a spear to win. I mean, Raven looked rough, but like I said, warmed up. Let's not forget Raven done commentary with Gorilla and Lord Alfred Hayes. The door fight was awesome. I've not seen that. Same bringing out another side of Moose. This was fucking crazy. Macklin involved means next fuse for Sammy as well. 4.5 out of 5. Heath isn't finished with Ono No More. The Knockouts World Champion Jordan Grace versus Tasha Steeles for the Knockouts World Championship. Grace, of course, won at Slammiversary and faces a former champion here. Steeles come back with a cutter for a very close fall. Grace hits a thunderous delayed suplex and sends Steeles into her own partner on the apron. Grace connects with a Grace driver to retain the Knockouts World title. I mean, these two fly under the radar with wrestling, but the match was a perfect story. Steeles has everything, but it is Grace's turn right now. 4 out of 5. In the main event, Impact World Champion Josh Alexander versus Joe Doring. Of course, Doring is undefeated. Doring raised him with a running crossbody, but it's not enough to keep Alexander down, who locks in another ankle lock with additional grapevine. Doring puts his incredible strength on display as he stands up to break the hold. Alexander connects with a C4 spike to retain the Impact World title and hand Doring his first loss in Impact Wrestling. Doring not lost in any promotion since December of 2019. Joe wearing actual cowboy boots. The Monster vs. Face champion. Really strong main event. 4.25 out of 5. Another fun show. 9. It can't do bad wrestling. Match was X Division. MVP was Moose and Sammy. Okay, we've only got 1 month to go, everybody. So I'm just glad we're all here and joining me. We can get through this. July 7th, digital exclusive. Raj Singh and Shira lost to Johnny Swinger and Ziggy Dice. Yes, I just said that. BTI Giselle Shaw defeated Alicia. To start off, Impact Alan Angels challenged for the X Division Championship against Mike Bailey in a fantastic match with both shaking hands at the end of it. Eric Young returns to Impact and said it wasn't his design that Doring and Dina was going for the World Championship. Miguel beating Laredo Kid in a really, really fun matchup. PCO collided with Black Taurus, with PCO getting the PCO Salt to win. I mean, he's so much fun. I'm gonna guess he's what, 190 maybe? Shira with Raj Singh versus Swan, with Swan connects with a series of kicks followed by a 450 splash to win. I mean, Shira's win-loss record is awful, there's no doubt about that. The number one contendership for the Knockouts World Gianna Pratsy versus Mia Yim. We see Yim capitalise with Cold Blue for a very close full. Pratsy hits Queen Gambit, but somehow, some way, it's not enough to keep Yim down, who comes back with a package pile driver. This time, Pratsy kicks out. Yim Spikes with another package pile driver, followed by Eat Defeat win. What a main event. The women main event Raw and Impact this week. Just to let you know, Dynamite. After the match, Knockouts World Champ Jordan Grace goes face-to-face for the next challenger. Shake hands. July 14th, digital exclusive Trade versus Shelley. Really poor quality picture, okay. BTI Swinger losing to Gura. Impact World Champion Josh Alexander, the Motor City Machine Guns defeated Violent by Design. After the match, both Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley have their eyes on a prize. It's a great opener. Steve Macklin defeated James Storm. Lights go out, and Sami Callihan is looking for Steve Macklin. Has been Impact's next main event of start for a while. It's crazy to think Storm has been around, looks this long and looks this good. Chelsea Green defeated Mickie James in what might be Mickie James's last Impact match or wrestling match forever. We see the Rosemary and Tower Valkyrie enter the Undead Realm in search for Havoc, who actually find Jessica instead. Masha Slamovich, Tenille Dashwood. Great work by Tenille selling fear. You just don't get enough of that. On and on more, Eddie Edwards, Kenny King, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus the Bullet Club. The Good Brothers, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. The Good Brothers attempt a magic kill on Taven, but Ken Ellis delivers a low blow to Gallows. Edwards hits a Boston Knee Party, followed by the Arroyo Borealis from Taven to win. Great main event, but the Bullet Club keep losing now as well. July 21st, digital media exclusive. Mars versus Prince, okay stuff. Again, okay for Laredo Kid versus Johnny Swinger. Vexed, or VXT as it's spelled, Deanna Pratt of Chelsea Green defeated Knockouts World Champion Jordan Grace and Mia Yim. Vexed is money. I mean, Yim and Grace are great. This was really, really enjoyable. X-Division Champion Mike Bailey defeated Dina in a really, really good match as well. Madison Rain lost to Masa Slamovich. This was Madison Rain's coming to an end now of her contract after Tony Khan has signed her. Heath helping out everybody as he attacks Honor No More's a Bullet Club win a tag team matchup. We're looking for competition is Rich Swann as Kushida makes his Impact Wrestling debut. And in the main event, the winner challenged Josh Alexander for the Impact title at Emergence. Alex Shelley defeated Chris Sabin. Shelley hit the border city stretch even to win by submission. For the first time in his career, Alex Shelley is now the number one contender. After the match, Joe Doran and Dina attack to eliminate sickness, but Kushida arrives. And this was great stuff. They know each other well. Like that Sabin tapped out. First time Shelley is the number one contender as well. And then we had digital exclusive Ryan Van Rocket versus Matt Vine. BTR July 28th, Bhupinder Gura defeating Vincent. Killer Kelly made her long-awaited arrival in Impact Wrestling and went to face off with Tiffany Veeves, who just beat Jada Strong. I mean, Killer treated like a star. What would Masha think at this moment in time? Impact World Champion Josh Alexander beat Shearer. Not bad, just gets Josh ready, I suppose. We see Jessica wants to party with Vexed with a bachelorette party, and Rosemary is not happy with that. Production started going worse than normal, with lots of things in the truck. Looks like I don't know more. We had enough, so Scott D'Amore said it will finally come to an end on a 5-on-5 showdown. If all of them all wins, they receive the title shots, but if they lose, they must disband. And the main event, Kushida making his Impact debut against Rich Swann. This was fantastic. Hoverboard lock for wins to the mission, but I'm living the dream seeing Kushida again after NXT and the run he had with like wrestlers like Johnny Gargano, and now finally in Impact Wrestling. I'm just really, really happy to see him. Digital exclusive, the one they called Manders versus Mike Bailey. This was good stuff. BTI August 4th, Savannah Evans defeating Alicia. We had Diana Perazzo versus Rosemary, with Perazzo rolling her up for the victory. And the women's roster, they have to put singles together. Eddie Edwards tell P-Show to prove his loyalty, and the Derby City Street Fight. Brian Myers defeated Black Taurus, but found himself in a 3-1 situation afterwards. 24/7 vibes coming out of that title now. Masha beat Giselle Shaw, going 14-0. Motorship Machine Guns defeated Violent by Design. After the match, they look to assault him, but Kushida makes only to be blindsided by Eric Young. And then Kushida and Chris Sabin lay out the challenge to Violent by Design. Sami Callihan defeated Raj Singh and then wanted to call out Moose and Steve Macklin. Moose music hits, but it's Macklin standing at the top of the right, and they both blindsided him. And in the main event, the Battle of the Behemoths at Bullet Club and On No More, Doc Gallows, PCO, Derby Street fight. This was fucking mental. Gallows connects with a choke slam that sends PCO crashing through the ring, but somehow it's not enough to keep him down. PCO lands a glove with thumbtacks and drives into Gallows' chest for free. I mean, this was mental. The ropes, the ring was just completely destroyed. A great episode, a great main event. And then the digital media title, Brian Myers beat Vargas. And believe it or not, everybody, this is the final Impact. We are here, actually standing on the precipice of Emergence. BTI August 11th, Steve Macklin defeat Crazy Steve with Black Taurus. Good stuff. Macklin needed momentum before Sammy. Impact World Tag Team Champion and Never Openweight Champion Carl Anderson defeated Kenny King. Kushida defeated Dina. Just great to see him. Really, really happy about that. Killer Kelly made her in-ring debut, beating Tiffany Neves. No surprise there. X Division Championship match. Lee defeated Rocky Romero. Fantastic for guys defending in 24 hours time to get the win here was just something else. And then a contract signing, good old contract signing between Alex Shelley and Josh Alexander. And Shelley says Alexander will be staring across the ring at his hero and calls out him and Alex Shelley Mark. He signs the contract to an end with one final statement. There's your Alex Shelley autograph, Josh. So here we go. Our last Impact event, 12th of August, Emergence. And the countdown, digital media title, Brian Myers versus Bhupinder Gura. Myers used the middle ropes for a low blow, then took control with flurry of strikes, hit the implant DDT for 2, then sent Gura crashing into exposed turnbuckle, rolled him up to retain the title. A real screwy finish. It was okay, but I expect more from Myers, a 3.5. Knockouts World Tag Team Champions Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary versus Vex, Deanna Pratt and Chelsea Green. We see Valkyrie quick as a pace. Numbers put Green away with a Blue Thunder Bomb after the hot tag. Valkyrie and Rosemary connect with German suplexes on the opponents. Green dives through the ropes but takes out Jessica at ringside. Rosemary hit road to Valhalla and Green, but Pratt breaks the pin attempt. Rosemary inadvertently misses Valkyrie, allowing Vex to capitalise with a double suplex to win your new Impact World Tag Team Champions VXT. And I told you it wasn't long before Deonna tasted gold again. This is the team. I could have been done with more, really. And again, on the pre-show, but 3 3/4 out of 5. The main show starts with the X Division champion Mike Bailey versus Jack Evans. Bailey hits a corkscrew shooting star press for 2. Evans comes back with a Falcon Arrow for a near fall. Both men are doing following sink kicks to the head. Evan blocks a blockbuster off the top, but it's not enough to keep Bailey down, who connects with the ultimate weapon to win the match and retain the X Division championship. Speedball's been great all year, but the chemistry was maybe missing a little bit here. Evans a good athlete, but this is probably his level, 3 3/4 out of 5. We were then meant to have Sami Callihan versus Steve Macklin, but attacked Callihan on a ramp when he's making his entrance in a brawl and shield. Callihan turned the tide, delivered a vertical suplex. Both men tossed the referee aside and the fight rages on. Callihan said he'd been crashing through the divide between the steel guard raised and the fight spills to the back and the match never gets underway. So we're going to continue with Violent by Design, Eric Young and Dina versus Chris Sabin and Kushida. We see VBD actually working on Kushida a lot during this matchup as well, which is a surprise. But Sabin managed to get in and connect with a cradle shot for 2. Young blindsides Sabin to regain control. Dina soars with a diving headbutt on Sabin, followed by a top rope elbow from Young. Doreen takes out Kushida while the referee stops Dina for ringing the flagpole in the ring. And Young capitalized with a power driver to Sabin to get the win. I mean, at least Kushida didn't get pinned, but a really fun match. VBT needed the win here, a 4 out of 5. And then we see the knee knockouts, world champions getting interviewed, but it might not really working. Kenny King's in the ring to settle his score with Heath once and for all, but Sami Callihan and Macklin brawl through, and Heath delivers another wake up to King. And Heath says the red-headed rebel says he wants them. He'll be waiting on the other side. We get a Lucha Libre AAA attraction match. Bandido versus Rey Horus, two of the world's top luchadors, as they battle here in a special attraction match, like we said. Bandido put his strength on display as he lifts Horus above his head with one arm. Horus spikes him with a tilt-a-world DDT off the second rope. Bandido hit a deadlift vertical suplex from the apron, crashing to the canvas. Both men are down following a flurry of action, but are back up for the count of 10. Bandido hits a back elbow, followed by the 21 plex for 3. A great showcase of two guys I've hardly seen. Bandido with a one-arm grid of press, so impressive. I don't think I have seen a tilt-world DDT off the second row, but 4.5 of 5. Moose again denies his alliance with Steve Macklin and Sami Callihan, and the brawl between Callihan and Macklin continues. And it's 2-1, but Scott D'Amore says we're going to have to do this the right way. Moose bar for ringside. This becomes no disqualification, and my God, Callahan attempts to catch this drive for night 7, but Macklin fights off with a low blow. He hits this KIA, but gets caught with a low when he tries to restrain Callahan with zip ties. Callahan delivers repeated kicks to the groin, poor the owner, and now it's Callahan who zip ties Macklin's hands behind his back and spikes him with a cactus driver, 97 to win. Both men nail their own character, real gritty feel, and just like the old Mankind Triple H ball at Canadian Stampede. Steve bleeding, hardcore, but not overdoing it. 4 3/4 out of 5. And then we got Honor No More, Eddie Edwards, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, Vincent and PCO versus Bullet Club. The Good Brothers, Ace Austin, Chris Bay and Hakulei. Of course, no disqualification. If Honor No More loses, they must disband. This match built and built and built. All 10 gave everything. The fight spills to the crowd where Gallo drives Taven into the plexiglass barrier. Gallows chokeslam PCO over the barrier through a table below for a bit of payback. But we see Vincent saw off the top of Red Rum, sending Gallows crashing through a table on the floor. The Good Brothers attempt a magic kill on Taven, but Gallows' left arm gives out. Of course, even for that Derby City showdown. And Taven and Bennett hit the climax on Gallows to score the huge victory. Doc was targeted and On No More won gold. And then we had the Knockouts World Champion Jordan Grace versus Mia Yim. Scott Armstrong, legendary Scott Armstrong, refereeing this matchup. Yim hit a Pele kick. Grace comes back with a spine buster. Yim connects with a tornado DDT. It's not enough to keep the champ down. Grace counters another tornado DDT attempt into the muscle buster, but this time it's Yim who kicks out. Yim then hits a cold blue off the top. Moments later, Grace counters a package power driver into the Grace driver to retain the Knockouts World title. This was speed versus power. Yim was booed, but she was facing a face of Impact Mount Rushmore, Grace's machine. But Yim showed heart. This was brilliant. Brilliant. Impact shows others how to and treat women's wrestling. 4 3/4 out of 5. But after the match, Grace Yim about to shake hands with Masa Slamovich, hands the Knockout World Champion and Death Warrant. Oh shit. The undefeated Masher versus the Smasher. And then the main event of Emergence, the Impact World Championship on the line. Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley. That was Alex Shelley's very first chance at the Impact World title. We see Shelley connecting with a sliced bread, but Alexander counters his pen attempt to roll up. Shelley hits another slice of bread, this time on the floor, but Alexander fights back with a ripcord elbow, then falls into the pin. Both men exchange submissions, leading to 2 shell shots from Shelley. Alexander spikes him with a power drive, but it's not enough. Alexander successfully hits a C4 spike to retain the Impact World Championship. There was a really nice build to this match. Shelley, and maybe we thought it would happen, but Josh Alexander, like we talked about, the wrestling machine, winning at Rebellion and being on a roll. This was a real slow, hard work main event, and this is what Impact is all about. 5 out of 5 for me. Overall, really good stuff. We've just done 6 months of Impact. There's not been a bad Impact special this year. It's just a time. The reason why Monty or Jax or Gina are not here right now is because we haven't great wrestling. We've got AEW and WWE doing shows on the same weekend. We're going to have Moxley and Punk and McIntyre and Reigns. It's going to be crazy, but Impact is delivering. But unfortunately, there's just so much quality wrestling at the moment. It just doesn't help. Like an 8 3/4 out of 5 is a great rating. Shelley was the MVP, and the match of the night was, of course, the main event. But like I said, with Impact, it's quality wrestling all the time. I'd just like to thank everybody who's listening to me right now, who have stuck with me for an hour talking about Impact for the last 6 months. I thought it was going to be a lot longer, but we did get it. And trust me, the next time we talk about it, we might do an Impact one just in a month's time to get us ready for Bound for Glory. But I'm going to try and get everybody to have a look at Bound for Glory, so at least we can review it on a live show. But that is it for today. Don't forget, we're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR, and you can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. WNR also on Facebook and Instagram. Across all Google platforms, send us an email at the WNR Podcast at gmail.com. And YouTube, number podcast, we have all the latest clips from podcasts. They got at the same time on YouTube to do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes. But you can subscribe, rate and review there. So that is it. Our next show will be next weekend, and Monty will be joined by me. We look at NXT Heatwave and see and talk about NXT UK. And is this the end of NXT UK? We will discuss that in more detail. But until then, I've been James Rowlands. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed Impact Wrestling, and bye.